Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Alan Hathaway. I'm at the Garrison Church of God. I'm glad you joined me. My message today will be recognizing the day, and it's actually taken from Luke chapter 19, beginning in verse 37, and Isaiah chapter 6, beginning in verse 11. I've been sharing with you a series called The Glory of the Lord from Isaiah chapter 6 and the vision that Isaiah, this young man, had when he was called by the Lord into service. I thought about what the glory of the Lord really means in our lives and how profound that is. The Hebrew word, as I mentioned at the beginning of this series, is the word kavod, and it means to be heavy. And we don't often think of glory as being something heavy. In the Greek language, the word that's translated as glory in our Bible literally means to be raised up or lifted up or elevated. But in the Hebrew, it means to give weight to or importance or strength to. And so this concept of glory is a powerful word in the Hebrew language. It gives us a sense of God's ultimate power in the midst of all things. So it is a heaviness of weight of glory, as I've talked to you about. If you'd like to join us for service today, this Palm Sunday, and you can see the palms behind me, I love Palm Sunday. And this particular Palm Sunday is really special to me because we're able to have church on Palm Sunday. Last year, we were not able to have church on Palm Sunday, and that was disappointing to me. But we will have church this Palm Sunday. Our service begins at 8:30 at Riverdale Community Church, and our service here in Garrison begins at 10:30. Next Sunday, we have something different for Easter Sunday. That particular Sunday, we will be having services at 9 o'clock in Riverdale and at 11 o'clock in Garrison. We also will have a sunrise service at the State Park in Pick City at 7 a.m. If you'd like to come and join us for that. So those are some of the things that are coming up for this next Easter week. And I love to celebrate this time of the year. I love the concept of the resurrection and the promise that brings into our lives. But I also really, really like Palm Sunday. I like it for a number of different reasons. This particular Palm Sunday has been a difficult one for me personally and for my family. It marks almost to the day the anniversary of my dad's death, and so that's been a difficult thing for us to work through, but God's grace has been there with us. It also marks a year since we've been struggling with the results of this pandemic in our nation, and we have watched that unfold with a lot of frustration. At least for me personally, there's been a lot of frustration with this process. I also have been frustrated a lot with the political situation in our nation and the unrest that has been involved in this whole political season that really has not ended. Even though the election is over, there's still, our nation is as divided as it was probably since the Civil War. And there is a lot of unrest and struggle in our nation, in the very soul of our nation. And I don't see that ending real soon. I wish it would, but I don't see it ending real soon. But I do have confidence in Jesus Christ. One of the things that struck me as I was looking at this particular year and Isaiah's experience, there were 4 messages that God wanted to get across to Isaiah in chapter 6. The first message was, you need to know who I am and that I have the ability to take care of this situation. You need to allow me to make the changes in your heart and life that are necessary for you to serve me. The third thing God wanted to get across to this young man, Isaiah, was that you need to know that there will be difficulties and that you will have to face as you serve me. And then today I want to talk to you a little bit about the fourth concept. You will need to focus on my will and purpose and not on these circumstances. Isaiah lived during a very difficult time in the world's history, especially in the history in the Middle East. Tiglath-Pileser III had come to the throne of Assyria. He was a powerful, mighty general. He had usurped the throne and was now asserting Assyrian dominance throughout the Middle East. It was a troubling time. Many had thought the Assyrian Empire was a fading paper tiger that was disappearing from the world history, and with good hope. It was a terrible empire. It was an empire that was brutal and ugly and horrible in every sense of the word. But now it was back in full strength. And it was a frightening world that Isaiah was stepping into. He was unsure of King Jotham. He was unsure of King Jotham's son Ahaz, who would be taking over the throne in just a very few years. It was a troubling and difficult time for Isaiah. There were lots of reasons to be concerned, a lot of political and social unrest. Isaiah would be challenged by God to trust him in the midst of this. Isaiah says to God, "Lord, how long?" And God answers to him, "Until the cities are laid waste and without inhabitant. The houses are without a man, and the land is utterly desolate. And the Lord has removed men far away, and the forsaken places are many in the midst of the land. But yet a tenth will be in it, and will return and be for consuming. As a terebinth tree or as an oak, whose stump remains when it is cut down, so the holy seed shall be its stump." I thought about that struggle of hope, and there's a sense that the tree is cut down and everything is hopeless. But God says that in that stump there is hope. There are branches that will come forth, and I know many of you have cut down a tree and watched new branches come from the roots of that tree. That is an exciting moment to realize that there is still life, even when it seems like everything is in despair. Palm Sunday was an interesting Sunday. The Jewish people at the time of Jesus were unsettled. They were frustrated with Roman rule. They were frustrated with the collaboration of some within their community with the Romans. They were frustrated with a political class that seemed to be more interested in stability than they were in what was right. They were also concerned about the political unrest that was on the horizon. They had hoped for a Messiah like David, the mighty king, the slayer of Goliath, the man that had started their nation. They were hoping for that kind of a king. Prior to Jesus, there were several men that were proclaimed messiahs. In fact, when Herod the Great died, his steward, or at least it's believed to have been his steward, Simon of Perea, proclaimed himself king and put a crown on his head and began gathering followers. He burned several of the royal residences and looted them and led a band of mercenary raiders throughout the Jordan Valley. Herod's military commander, along with the Romans, spent the better part of several months chasing this man down and eventually capturing him and killing him. A year later, another man would arise who would be a shepherd. He was a tall, handsome man, and he had 4 brothers who were also strong and handsome men. They were fairly good military leaders, and they were able to lead a lengthy rebellion against Roman forces that lasted a couple of years. Their biggest target happened to be Herod's son Archelaus. They didn't want him to rule Judah, and so they became revolutionaries. And he was proclaimed a Messiah. Later, after Jesus, there would be another great Jewish military leader that many would proclaim a Messiah. He would come almost 100 years after the time when Jesus had triumphantly entered Jerusalem. His name was Simon Bar Kokhba. He reigned in Judah from 132 to 135. He led a rebellion against Hadrian's mighty military, a very successful rebellion at the beginning. They fought the Roman army to a standstill on several occasions. But then the might and the strength of the Roman army began to come down hard on this rebellious group. And one by one, their fortresses throughout Judah fell, until finally Jerusalem fell, and they were pushed to a very small fortress outside of the city of Jerusalem. That too would fall in 135. Hadrian's revenge was unbelievable. He demanded that the city of Jerusalem be completely razed to the ground, not a building left standing. It was to be scraped down to the very foundations. And he wanted a new Roman city built on the site with a brand new temple to Jupiter built where the temple had once been. It was an unbelievable and frightening moment for the Jewish people. And then on top of that, he basically put out an edict that Jewish people could never settle again in what had been the city of Jerusalem. Jesus would prophesy this event as he was working his way down the Mount of Olives on a donkey, coming to the city of Jerusalem. He would stop and weep over the city of Jerusalem and talk about this very event, where stone would not be left upon stone in the city. It would be razed to the ground, and their people would be decimated and destroyed. A lot of the people probably didn't understand. A lot of his disciples who were surrounding him were expecting a very different kingdom. They were hoping for a David who would conquer this evil Roman world and would bring the Jewish people to that promised time of the Messiah. The religious and political leaders were hoping for peace, and this Jesus was a threat to that hope for peace. The Romans, they were just confused about this man. They couldn't get a bead on him. Was he a revolutionary? Was he a crank? Was he a kook? What was he? And so those were the forces that were swirling around them on this particular Palm Sunday. And as the people began to shout, Hosanna, God save, God save, they did not understand that in a few days there would be the cry of crucify him. The very man that they believed was going to bring David's reign to their world would be dying on a cross. His disciples would have to face the realities that the things that they had thought were not real. Maybe this man really wasn't Lord. Maybe this man really didn't have everything under control. Maybe this man couldn't bring the victory they hoped for. But then when all hope was gone, the stone rolled away, and the king stepped out of the tomb. In my heart, this Palm Sunday, the king has stepped out of the tomb. He is Lord. He has the power that is necessary to solve the problems in my life. He has the power to solve the problems in your life. He has the ability to change everything. And so I shout, Hosanna. God save me. God save us. Jesus, you are indeed Lord and King. Ride on, O King eternal. God bless you. Have a wonderful Palm Sunday. See you.